I walked out without a job. I walked down that hallway and he yelled to me, "What are you going to do?" And I turned around and I said, "I'm going to go into real estate." He laughed. And 6 years later, I was ranked number one. If you create a great culture, your clients are going to feel it. And they're going to be clients for life. And I'm thinking to myself, this would be a really good opportunity to establish ClickFunnels in really great feeder markets that are hitting my website.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Remington Ramsey. We are officially in the top 5% of podcasts. We've got the event right around the corner, RP Elevate, rpelevate.com. Get your early bird tickets. Still not for long, though. So you got to go today. I got news for you. The reason why we're the top 5% of podcasts globally is because we have guests like Erin Krueger. Erin Krueger is selling in the Nashville market, rose to, with an entire female team, top 3 teams in the entire nation, so successful that she had to write the book. And the book is coming out. Actually, by the time this airs, it will be out. Capturing Culture. Get your copy at Amazon or wherever they sell books. Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
What do you love about Nashville? I've been to Nashville a few times. I'm in Indianapolis, so I have to make the trip to see the Titans game. I love that stadium. I believe they built a stadium right next door now.
They're about to blow that stadium up because they're right next to it in the parking lot. They're building the new one. So
is it still open air? Is the next one still open air?
I think it's going to be covered because I think we're trying to be a city that can host a Super Bowl and big events like that. So.
Well, the city itself could definitely host a Super Bowl. I love the city. What do you love about Nashville, and what do you love about selling real estate in Nashville?
What's not to love about Nashville? It's so dynamic. I've been in Nashville for 25 years, 20 years of that in real estate. And I remember when I came down here on a business trip, and I was in advertising and marketing at the time, and I opened up my drapes at that hotel and I was like, this city is for me. I don't know why. Had I bought real estate back then, I'd be really sitting pretty, but I didn't know why, but it was just so magnetic and it can grow in every direction. The people are great. You've got Southern hospitality, and now we're becoming, a global city. I mean, people from everywhere are moving in, and we've got great restaurants, and it's just so dynamic, and it's amazing to see the growth of this city and actually to be a part of it in selling real estate.
Well, and even real estate related, I know Inman is hosting their event there. You're speaking at it. What are you speaking on this time around?
I'm speaking actually on 2 different panels about the luxury market. I think some people want to know, how can I get into the luxury market? So we're going to be talking about that. And then we're also going to be talking about how to position yourself. Once you are a luxury market, what are you doing marketing wise? What kind of gives you the edge and things like that? So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a whole bunch of knowledge we're going to be dropping.
Well, you've got a lot. We've got a lot to talk about. You're big into speaking, motivation, stickiness, and positivity. Every time, every story that you've brought up it leads back to that. You said something about positive pants. You put your positive pants on. I like that. What brought you to Nashville in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, my story is, it has a little bit of tragedy in it, but it ends up being a very meaningful and positive story. My parents, when I was 21, they were involved in a car accident coming home from my sister's basketball game. My dad was killed immediately. My mom lived another year, had extensive injuries from that. And, here I am 21 years old, and I'm having to navigate my family business, taking care of my mom's healthcare, trying to graduate college, a sister that, obviously is dealing with the fact that her parents had an accident from her basketball game. And so I had to grow up really quickly, and I had to make some decisions very fast. And there have been many times in my life, whether it's at that time period when I worked in advertising, when I'm in real estate, through the years as a female, that I have been challenged by older, wiser, more experienced business people, especially men. And I have had to stand my ground and say, nope, this is what I'm going to do. And there are stories in my book about, in Capture the Culture that talk about this. And I will tell you that difficult days do not define you. What you do with them does. And you always have the opportunity to rewrite your story. And I came to Nashville on that business trip, in advertising, and I just fell in love. And I realized nobody knows my story here. And after my mom passed away, I moved there and I worked in advertising and marketing, and I worked for an ad agency. And then I worked for a children's toy company doing negotiation deals and brand deals with Disney and Marvel and Nickelodeon. And it was cool until my boss asked me to kind of plagiarize a commercial. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. Here I am in my early 20s. He's a 50-year-old man. He goes, sure, you're going to do it. I said, no, I'm not. You're going to have my resignation by the end of the day. And I swear to you, I felt two hands cut my shoulders, and I knew it was my parents saying, that's our girl. And so I walked out without a job. I walked down that hallway and he yelled to me, what are you going to do? And I turned around and I said, I'm going to go into real estate. He laughed. And 6 years later, I was ranked number one. So don't ever underestimate.
Yeah. So you had some, it sounds like you had some, part of your story is proving yourself, proving your worth, but specifically interactions with men that left a bad taste in your mouth. Is that, I'm assuming, what made the decision to grow a team of all females?
No, I mean, we've had men on our team. So it's not a by design. It's just what has ended up coming through the culture and where we currently are. I think that I've had a team for, over 10 years now. And I didn't know the right way to do this. There weren't books at the time that talked about how to scale a team. Most big agents at the time were solo agents. And so there were very few teams out there. And the ones that were out there weren't very collaborative. They weren't sharing their tips. And you couldn't take them to coffee, things like that. And so I had to learn a lot by mistakes. And that's okay. That's how you learn. I think with how I've outlined my book, it talks about how to hire, how to find these great people. What kind of interview tests do I do? How do I figure out if they would be a good part of the culture? Because I tell you what, I would rather hire somebody who is, less experienced and more trustworthy and fits into the culture than somebody who is a proven producer and not very trustworthy, right? And doesn't match into the culture. I really pride myself on being able to teach somebody real estate, but I can't teach you to listen. I can't teach you to show up on time. And I can't teach you how to have your positive pants on and have a good mindset. And I tell you what, I will teach you everything you need to know, but I can't teach you that.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I've heard that before. I've heard you can't teach certain things like how to show up on time. Let me push back for a second. If you see someone that is capable of big things, but they have this glitch, like especially this next generation, they don't, it seems, if I had to generalize, that the next generation is just based on stats, staying in their basement longer, their parents' basement longer, not getting married until they feel like they have enough money, but they're also not getting enough money because we all want to be famous YouTubers. And so we're starting life later. But let's say you come across that Gen Zer that has really great potential. But we say things like we can't teach them to show up on time. Can we though? Is there things that we can do to help them understand that there's just one little thing that is keeping them from being great, and it's their calendar or their schedule? What do you do with someone like that?
Well, I think for me, I think that time is our biggest asset, right? And so I think that when I'm looking to pour into somebody, I want somebody who is motivated. They're hungry, they want to work, they want to produce, they have goals. You can have all the potential in the world. But if you can't move forward and execute, there's a problem there. And so how I deal with situations like that, even if I'm coaching, let's say that they're not on my team, but somebody comes to me and I can quickly identify, they're just not very organized. They need some time management skills. They need to kind of up these things. I say to them, okay, let's kind of put down a goal here. And in 30 days, we're going to kind of check in here with you. I have something on my calendar from 6 to 7 a.m. It's called Erin time. It's blacked out on my calendar. Do not disturb is still on. I am doing things that I want to do. I am getting ready. It might be finishing up at the gym. I could be reading a book. I could be just cleaning up my emails, having a coffee by the fireplace, like just having Erin time, right? That is super important. From 7 to 8, I am organizing my day. I know everything. I'm in my CRM. I'm following up on my emails. I'm doing all of this type of stuff. I am time blocking. If I'm giving you time and good sound advice to right this ship, and 30 days later, you're not implementing it, there's a problem. You can tell everybody. I put people on, and I talk about this even in my book. Like there have been moments where even if you've been a rock star for years and years and years, something can happen in your life to change where you are. You're no longer producing the same way. Your positivity and mindset are off because of some kind of outside force. Let's sit down and talk about it.
Takes good friends in that moment, right? Because if you're someone who was positive, but something happens and you don't even realize it, but you're just not the same person, it takes a good friend to actually point that out, or a mentor.
Being a leader, being a boss, being a coach, that is your responsibility. A lot of people want to have these teams. And I say to a lot of team leaders, why do you want to have a team? Is it because they think they're going to get more money? Are they going to put their toes in the sand? What is the reason? What is the why that you want to do that, right? And then why do you want these people to stay? Because you have to have a value proposition to these agents for them to stick around.
What's your value proposition when you meet with somebody?
Well, first of all, it's going to be education and empowerment. Because of the amount of transactions and the vastness of what we do and what I actually pour into my agents, we have scripting. We have EKT University, which I lead every single week. And it's a case study, a really complex deal, something that's changing in our thing. So you're going to know about it. If you're going to be in a transaction, you're going to be the more knowledgeable agent about it, right? And so I want my agents prepared for any kind of twist and turn. Also, we are a lead generating team. We get leads in every single day, and you're scripting because I want my agents to be the most authentic salespeople out there, because if they know it, they script continuously. They know how to convert, whether somebody is in the grocery store line behind you and you hear real estate, or somebody calls you on a listing or walks through an open house. You know how to convert. And that is a very, very powerful tool to learn.
All right, let me pause you because you said you have them script because you want them to be authentic. To the naked eye, naked ear, that sounds like an oxymoron. It sounds like, well, script is like the opposite of authentic. So what do you mean by that?
I think it's about being prepared for every objection that could come along. 2024 taught us more than ever before that we are pivoters, right? There are so many challenges that are being thrown at us. If you are not prepared for answers, you're going to look like an idiot. You're going to look, and that's the truth.
Yeah, especially because other people have the answers.
Exactly. And here's the thing. You have to look at this. People are trusting you with, in their world, their most important asset, to sell their house. If you're not coming across as the expert or the advisor, you're going to look like you're not educated enough to serve them. And so we practice how to answer and overcome objections. It's part of honing your craft. We have a thing on our team where we say, we are committed to being better tomorrow than we are today.
It's so funny. I hear pushback on scripts a lot, not just from new people. You especially hear it when someone's new to sales or new to that particular industry, but some people who've been in it a minute were like, I don't do scripts, like I'm just me. But I think they probably, if they're good, they probably don't realize that they actually do have scripts. They're just not written out on paper. But I totally agree about the scripting. Like, it frees you to be yourself. People think I know this stuff well enough, but the answer is they don't, because they get tripped up on the words. And that's what actually comes across as inauthentic, is you're just trying to be yourself and have a conversation. But if you actually know the thing, that's what's inauthentic. That's when you get imposter syndrome, is when you're an imposter. I said this about Colonel Sanders. Do you know the story of Colonel Sanders, his story of perseverance?
No, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Tell me.
Yeah, Kentucky Fried Chicken. 1,000. He tried to sell his recipe for 1,009 times. Like, it's a big motivational speaker like story. People are like, oh, he was denied 1,009 times, and 1,010th time is when he made KFC. And like, they use this as this profound like perseverance story. But to me, when I heard that, I was just like, that dude should have just had a better sales presentation. Because think about it. He was likable. He went down as one of the most well-known philanthropists and entrepreneurs of all time. He was likable. His chicken was awesome. People love his chicken. It didn't change. He didn't change the recipe. So he just didn't have a good sales presentation. And if he would have honed his axe a little bit, it would have been like 3 denials and then KFC would have happened. And I feel like what you're saying about scripting is something that everyone should get to in their heads and realize that even if like you're not putting pen to paper, like you knowing your stuff is important.
So when I say scripting, one thing I want to make really, really clear, there's not a book of scripts. There is role playing with agents that you work with every single day that are handing it to you in role playing on things that they have experienced on the other end of the phone or in person. And they are being difficult with you because they want you to be stronger and to be able to overcome. And then there's open feedback with your peers. That is how we script. Because when I explain an exclusive buyer's rep to a buyer, there's certain things that I say when I'm explaining it that really talks about our duties as agents. And I will say, do you see these heels right here? And I point down to my heels. I'm not going into a crawl space. That's for an interior, right? That talks about my limits. Do you see what I'm saying? Those are little things there. But a person on my team might do a little bit different spin on it. The outcome and the execution is the same. I'm not looking for clones of Erin Krueger. I'm looking for the very best version of them with the tools that I'm providing them with hitting the notes. It's the same thing when you're showing a luxury home. You got to hit the points. You got to stop. You got to tell a story. You got to kind of like reemphasize like the value here. Everything has to be thought about, and you have to be prepared to overcome objections. That's just part of our business. And when you master that skill, that sets you apart from everybody else.
Yep, it really does. We've mentioned the book a couple times. What made you decide to write a book? I think a lot of people, especially in the space, real estate, sales in general, think to themselves, I should write a book. But then they get lost in what they should write about, or if people will listen. It's a very courageous thing and humbling experience to finally sit down and put it on paper. And you're about to experience this launch, because I actually just launched my book this last month, and I've seen for the first time like the good, bad, and the ugly of when you do that. So you're about to experience this. But I thought it was pretty fascinating what made you finally decide to pull the trigger and write the book. So share that story.
Yeah, I never dreamt about going and writing a book. I mean, I don't think that was kind of on my goal list, to be honest with you. And I'm a big person to write down my goals. I was invited to a speaking event, CoachCon in Nashville, and I was speaking to a whole bunch of entrepreneurs. And when I got off the stage, a lot of people were coming up to me and wanting to know more, not just about real estate, but about business building, team building, mindset, all of those things. And kind of when the line kind of parted, a gentleman came up to me who was in publishing, and he was like, you've got the sticky factor. Like, people like want to know more about your story. They want to know how you did what you do. Going back to value proposition on my team, it is the culture. I have had more and more people that should have left my team. I've actually sat down with them like, girl, when are you going to leave? Like, I want you to stay because I'm not giving you leads anymore. You've built your business up. You're closing 40 deals, a year when your own SOI. It's time to fly the nest. And they're like, but I love the team. Like, I love the team. Well, eventually, we had to skedaddle, and they had to go do and see what they're capable of on their own, because that's the natural progression of growing and scaling a business. There are other people on my team that don't want to be team leaders. They love the team dynamic. They don't want to deal with the overhead, answering agents, kind of running a mini brokerage within your own brokerage. It's not for everybody being a team lead. And so going back to it, it is about the culture that we create. And I think that when you have somebody who you can go to that is going to kind of give you solutions, and be able to be a sounding board. But what I ask of my agents is to never come to me with a problem. Come to me with what you think the solution should be, because I want to empower them to make those decisions. And then they hear me saying, you got that right. That's exactly what I would have done. Go do it. right? And to feel like they have somebody behind them. And that is very, very powerful.
You've mentioned culture a few times. It's the title of your book, Capture the Culture. What if I'm sitting down and I'm thinking I've answered all the questions I need to determine I want to build a team. Maybe I'm on a team right now, or maybe I'm a solo agent and I'm like, I want to build a team. What would you encourage this person to journal and write down as they are thinking about building their culture? I think we say it's like a buzzword. And when you have buzzwords, we all assume we know what we're talking about, or we are all talking about the same thing. But I don't want to assume on the show. I want to really get in the weeds with what culture actually means. So if you put pen to paper, what are you writing down you want the culture to be starting from scratch?
Well, I mean, it's going to be different for everybody. And I think that's the thing that I kind of talk about. There's no right way to do it. I think you need to start with how you want to have a business and and what you want these people who are part of this business to do. Now, there are a lot of teams out there that have cultures where everyone's on an island, right? I'm here if you need me. Call me if you need me. Otherwise, go sell real estate. Go do it, right? That's not my team. That's not my team. My culture, we have an all-female team, right? So there's a bit of a sisterhood here, right? And so there's a bunch of, we've got moms, we have people that are everywhere from 23 years old on my team to people that are retirement age. And everybody is in a different place of their life, right? And success means something different to every single one of them. So as a team lead, when you're building a team and you're building culture and you're trying to have a great culture, the first thing that you need to say is, what are their whys? And how can you provide an answer to their whys? I'm not going to give things on a silver platter, but I'm going to make sure that I can create opportunities where they can grab them and go and execute at a high level. When people are happy, when they're fulfilled, when they're hitting their goals, you're going to see them perform so many more times greater than you would alone, right? 10x almost. And that's what's shown on my team. We have 8 licensed agents, 2 which were on maternity leave. We did $50 million more in sales than the year before, hitting nearly 225 last year. And that is equivalent to teams that have 20 agents. And it's because the culture of our team is never let the other person fail. If the kid's sick, don't worry, I gotcha. I'll go show your client. I'll go do this, right? It's not like you owe me this or I'm on an island. It's like, I've got your back. In fact, what's pretty funny on my team is we have this thing about you're not greedy. Knowledge is power. If you get a lead and you understand you're not a land expert, because we sell a lot of estates and land and things like that, as well as condos downtown. We're very vast and very knowledgeable, but there are certain people on my team that have more of a specialty there. But say that you get a lead where you're not an expert, right? You're not an expert. Immediately, you pair yourself with that expert on our team and you split that commission. Yes, you get less commission, but what you gain is so much more through the mentorship of that agent. I'm also empowering my senior agents to be those coaches and mentors to our junior agents. And that is really important to being able to establish a great culture on your team of empowerment. When people feel empowered, they're going to do great things.
You said junior agent. Is there a definition of a junior agent?
1 to 3 years in the biz.
So you have them partner with veterans who are very knowledgeable in that. Do they ever get worried that they're going to lose the client because the client feels like they should know all this?
Well, I think that's where we teach our agents to kind of understand where you are and really understand who the client is. We're never going to put them in a position of working with a client where they're not seen as an expert, right? And so if they feel like they don't know exactly, like for instance, I have an agent who's a junior agent. She picked up a lead. It was a $10 million lead in Nashville.
It's a big one.
Yep. She was dealing with first-time home buyers before. She knew right away, you know what, she's over her head. And she's also in her young 20s. She might not be taken as serious with, somebody who's a CEO of a company. So she's going to pair herself with Georgia, who's been my right hand and a top senior agent on my team for 10 years. And she learned. Georgia took the lead on it. They split the commission. She fostered it. We called it the lead warmer. I warmed him up. I'm setting the appointment. Georgia's jumping in on the appointment. Now I'm learning everything I can from Georgia.
How does that happen, Erin? How does someone who has a $10 million property say, you know what? I don't care about your credentials. I want you to sell this house. And it's someone that's in the industry for 3 or less years. Is that just like family, or what happens there?
No, this was actually not to sell it. It was a buyer lead that came in. Came into our website. I sell a lot of luxury, so I list. And so we get very high-end leads coming in. And so I don't believe in my CRM to divvying out the leads. I believe in who answers your phone the fastest, who responds the fastest gets the lead.
Wow. That's an epic callback.
So here's the thing though. If you get that, it's like, oh my goodness, this could be life-changing to that one agent, right? To start, because when you first start out, it can be very, very hard. So this can give that. She sold in that junior agent last year, sold over $15 million in her first year. I said to her, do you realize how well you've done? There's not many agents. I certainly didn't my first year sell $15 million in real estate. And she says, I couldn't have done it without you, Erin. And I go, nope, it was all you, sister. It was all you. I gave you the opportunities, but you knocked it out of the park. You realized that you needed to pair yourself with an expert because you saved the client, right? Because if you appear like you don't have the expertise and the background to handle them, they're going to go to somebody else. So she got herself with Georgia and they sold that house, right? They found the perfect house for them.
When I asked you the question, how do you start with culture? How do you start to build a team? How do you start to think about it? Your initial answer was different than I think what most people do. I think most people think, okay, I'm getting pretty good at this real estate gig. In order to grow more, I have to bring more people on. And that's what gets them to the table of, okay, let's build a team. Your answer when I said, how do you build a team, was define the why of the people you're recruiting, which is starting with the impact you're having on others. And I think if everyone did that, we'd have less teams and more effective teams. I think we would have like a culture in real estate where that's had historically an issue with public perception and professionality. Professionality? Did I say that right? And you would be fixing it by the love that you have and the impact and empowerment that you're having for your teams. I think that's phenomenal.
Thank you. I think that if you treat your team right? If you create a great culture, your clients are going to feel it. And they're going to be clients for life.
Did you start with luxury when you got to Nashville?
No, we weren't a luxury market. I think my first deal was considered luxury. It was an $800,000 house with one of the top agents in Nashville. I think my second deal was an $80,000 trailer. So
that's great.
I sold it all.
That's an expensive trailer. So what's the average home sale price in the burbs or wherever you're selling at the moment?
So we're really kind of dynamic. We sell all over Middle Tennessee. I would say our average sales price is about $1.4 million. The average sales price in Nashville is about, for the average home, is about $450, $500. We're creeping up to
$450. But you're as a team or you personally is 1.4?
The team collectively. I mean, listen,
that's bananas, isn't it? Isn't that really high?
It's extremely high. And
So I imagine that was from the branding of yourselves as luxury agents. What was the decision there? Did you fall into that or were you intentional about getting there?
COVID just, you fell
into it?
No, this is I'm very strategic, my marketing background. So here's what happened. I had been given opportunities previous to COVID of some luxury sales, right? So I've had the opportunity to dip my toe into certain things. I remember Georgia said to me, I was in Belmead, which is a very affluent suburb, and I was selling a house. And she goes, I just have a feeling you're going to be selling luxury in the future. And I was like, I don't want to sell luxury. Like, no, I'd rather, deal with first-time home buyers and move-up buyers and things like that. She's like, no, I just feel it. Well, then COVID ends up happening. When COVID happened, we were shelter in place for 1 month in Nashville, right? Before we were deemed essential. During that time, everybody is doing a freak out. What's going to happen? How long are we going to be, in our homes, not able to sell real estate? And for me, I was like, I put my hat on and I just really dived into data And it was like, how am I going to sustain this with the team? From the outward appearance to my team, we're reading book, like Who Moved My Cheese? I'm trying to get the mindset up. Everyone get their positive pans on. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. As a business owner, I was shaking in my boots a little bit if I was a little nervous. I was like, well, I'm the driver of this ship, right? I'm the driver of this train. I have a responsibility to bring in the leads and figure out what's going on here. We had an investor client at the time who just stopped buying, which was, that hurt that division. So I was on my computer and I saw that there were a lot of people from California pinging my website. Previously, about a year and a half before, I was at the 10X conference and I heard about ClickFunnels. Okay. And we started to do them, but our execution was not good. It just wasn't right. So when fast forward back to COVID in March, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, this would be a really good opportunity to establish ClickFunnels in really great feeder markets that are hitting my website. So I called my IT guy, who I'm really good friends with, and I said, listen, I absolutely failed at ClickFunnels before, but I think between you and me and repositioning this, we could really knock it out of the park. So I ended up spending some money on Google, Meta, all of these places, and I ended up putting ads out there. And my ads were pretty simple. They said, top 10 reasons why Californians are moving to Nashville.
Oh, wow. That was the ad? That was in the actual ad?
Still running to this day, and it's been running for years. And it says, you click it, it's a landing page, and it says the top 10 reasons. Of course, we don't have state income tax, but it has, quality of life, like, property taxes are low. It goes on and on and on. And it even has quirky things like we have Nashville hot chicken, that kind of thing. So it was just really, really cool. And at the bottom of it, it had a button and it said, click here for your free relocation guide. When you click there, you have to give your information. As soon as that information is put in there, it goes to our CRM and our agents. I don't have ISAs because I believe that my agents are the ones that are going to be lead generators. And it's the first one who answers, remember, because I don't divvy them out. And it's kind of a round robin because that's to be expected. If you want good things to happen, you need to answer your phone. And so they have to answer their phone and they are immediately talking with these leads. And these leads were not first-time homebuyer leads. And that dynamically changed the course of our business. Just kind of a little bit of background. When I was a solo agent, I did over 300 deals in 1 year by myself. Okay. When I grew a team to the heights of first-time homebuyer type of properties, our average sales price at the time was $375, between $350 and $375. And I did over 500 deals as a team together. Now we do, 150 deals. And our average price point is, between 1.2 and 1.4. Big difference, right? Big difference there. I changed the dynamic of what I wanted to do and how we operated as a team.
Man, you're changing. So, all right, let me unpack this for a second, because you're not just, there's so many things you're doing for your team, but you're also changing the narrative on purchasing real estate in Nashville. Whereas before, you're getting Californians who are clicking on it either for investing or maybe potentially moving, but it's like on their list of places they want to move especially since COVID, everyone, but like a bunch more people can work from home. So they think to themselves, hey, we don't have kids yet. Where can we move to that we just want to live? And Nashville's got to be, top of some of those lists. So what you're doing is you're changing the mind of someone who is thinking maybe and thinking, oh no, this is where I need to be. And here's the top 10 reasons why. And they're already coming into as a lead to you, pre-programmed to think that this is right for them. I mean, I think it's brilliant. Now, not everyone is just converted from an ad, but you're changing the narrative from your marketing, and that changes people's minds, and it literally changes the culture. Like, I think that's awesome. I'm stealing it. I'm already setting this ad up for all the things I want to promote. That's brilliant. And what's funny is like people listen to this podcast, and I think if you're someone who's listening to the show and you're thinking, wow, that was really cool for them, and then you go on to the next podcast, like you're missing it. Like the whole purpose of this is to share, like you said, I mean, when you first got to Nashville, people weren't sharing tips and tricks. Now, I think the people at the top, for the most part, are ones that are like, hey, we can all be successful. Let's make this happen. And the more you share, because honestly, 90% of the people who listen to this are not going to do that for one reason or another. One of the reasons is they're just going to forget about it. You should see my sticky notes, Erin. These are all the things that I have to do today. 2 full lists. And by the way, I filled this pink one out last week. And one of the notes is create an ad that says this, and it's just not going to get done unless I make sure that it gets done. So you can share your tips and tricks with anybody you want, and a very small percentage of them are going to do it.
I know. And that's the thing about it. Like, that's why I'm kind of an open book. And I have agents that call me all the time for tips. And they're always saying, you're so like collaborative. Like, you're so willing.
It comes back to you.
Like, if I have 5 minutes to be able to pour into somebody, I'm going to do it. Like, I think that people don't understand. It takes one moment to change the course of somebody else's business. If they get inspired by you to be able to think differently about something and to execute differently, it could change the course of their business. But it's up to them to do it. You could sit in a room of 1,000 people and only 9 people take your advice, right? So I think it's all up to that person. That's what I'm saying. Potential. It's just potential. You got to execute.
This has been Erin Krueger. She's got a new. Let's help Erin hit bestsellers list #1. Her book is out at the timing of this. It should be Capture the Culture. Go and get it at Amazon or wherever they sell books. Erin, where can we find you?
You can follow us on Instagram at the Erin Krueger team and erinkrueger.com. And if you're in Nashville, look me up. I'd love to collaborate with other agents across the country.
Fantastic content. You got me thinking and taking notes. I'm excited to apply this. Thanks for being on. If you want to impact who we have on the show or what we talk about, email us at podcast@realproducersmag.com. In fact, right now in this moment, the first 5 people that respond to this show and in the comment section or in the link section say Erin Krueger episode, I'm personally going to buy you her book and send it to you just so that I know you're listening. And send this episode to one person you think it could impact. We'll see you next time.